Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, my name is Erica Burrows-Girardi, and I am a community coach with County Health Rankings and Roadmaps. Today I'm joined by my colleague and fellow coach, Mary Bennett. Hi, Mary. Hey, Mary. Are you on mute?
Yes, sorry about that. Happy to be part of this webinar and thank all of you for joining us today.
Thanks, Mary. Mary and I welcome you to today's webinar short entitled Negotiating Effective Collaboration. There's a tool for that. During the next 20 minutes, Mary and I will introduce you to a commonly used tool for negotiating collaboration and partnerships. This tool, called the Defining Boundaries Conversation Guide, is used to facilitate a transparent discussion among partners about expectations, available resources, and those non-negotiables that can sometimes be uncomfortable to talk about. Mary will send out some links via the chat box, and we'll each take turns answering your questions. Before we dive in, here's a quick orientation to the technology we're using today. The GoToWebinar attendee interface is made up of two parts. On the left, you can see the viewer window where you will see our screen throughout the entire presentation, and on the right, you'll see the control panel. Here you'll find the handouts for today's session, including a PDF of our slides, and you can also interact with us through the control panel by using the question section. Please feel free to ask questions or share your thoughts and experiences with us via the control panel throughout our webinar today. We'll be sure to leave time for your questions. Let me take a moment to share that County Health Rankings and Roadmaps is based in Madison at the University of Wisconsin Population Health Institute and is a collaboration with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Thanks to their support, we're able to bring you this webinar today. As you participate in today's webinar short, Mary and I invite you to consider these two questions. Who else do you need to share this information with? And what is one idea for action that you're taking from this webinar? So let's jump right in. I want to start by asking you, have you ever experienced any of these uncomfortable situations? Have you ever been in a meeting and asked for volunteers and heard, well, crickets? Or have you ever scheduled a meeting and hardly anyone showed up? How about the revolving door scenario when you find that partner organizations send different people to every meeting and those representatives don't know why they're there or what your partnership is about? And lastly, have you ever noticed this expression on the faces of your meeting participants? Yeah, painful, right? All four of these scenarios represent elephants in the room that no one really wants to address. But if we're honest, we know that when elephants take up residence in our meetings, they disrupt our partnership's collaborative potential. So today's guiding question is, how could a transparent conversation about our partnership help us collaborate together better? For some of you, this model is familiar, but please let me take a moment to ground everyone in it. This model represents the County Health Rankings approach to health. It shows how health outcomes are the sum of many parts. We see that there are multiple factors that impact how long and how well we live. One of the best ways to implement sustainable change in your community is to focus on policies and evidence-based programs that can positively influence health factors and ultimately improve your health outcomes. Partnerships working to create sustainable change must establish productive, collaborative relationships. But we know that negotiating effective collaboration can be challenging. So this is why we have roadmaps as part of County Health Rankings. Here you'll see our image of the Take Action Cycle. The Take Action Cycle guides communities in health improvement with a series of action steps that span from assessing needs and resources to evaluation. You will note that work together as well as communicate encompass the entire cycle. That is because these two very important actions occur even as you are completing the other action steps. At the heart of the Take Action Cycle is people working together, because we know that solving issues like childhood obesity and poor high school graduation rates or crime and recidivism require the wisdom and resources of everyone in your community. But bringing together partners from multiple sectors and simply telling them to work together to find solutions is a lot easier said than done. Your partners represent organizations that hold their own missions, their own values, and organizational culture, even though they may serve the same constituency you serve. So how can you collaborate effectively despite these differences? Well, you start by having a transparent conversation about those differences, and then you build on them. The Defining Boundaries Conversation Guide can help structure such a discussion. You can access the guide from our Take Action cycle when you simply click on the work Together, where you will find key activities and tools that you can implement within the Work Together Action Guide. And I'm going to ask Mary to chat out the link to that guide. Some of today's participants asked questions in advance about how to create a multi-sector partnership that is reflective of the many factors that influence health, and how do we draw people from silos. If these are the types of questions that you have, you want to spend some time in the Work Together Action Guide. Within Work Together, you will find these key activities. As you can see, they are centered around creating and reinforcing healthy partnership practices. Today's tool is located in the Manage Boundaries Key Activity Guide. This guide speaks to the need for partners to first define and understand the lines that differentiate them. Healthy partnerships not only welcome these differences, but are able to leverage them to amplify the partnership's work. That's why holding transparent conversations are beneficial. Now, to get to this tool, you simply click on Defining Boundaries Conversation Guide. I also want to take a moment to remind you that a few months ago, I introduced another tool that's called the Team Blueprint that's in the same list of suggested tools. The Team Blueprint focuses more on partner roles and responsibilities, and today's tool complements the Team Blueprint. In fact, partnerships will sometimes use these two tools together. So Mary's going to chat out a link to that webinar short about the Team Blueprint so that way you can reference it later. You can also find it on our website under our webinars section. The Defining Boundaries Conversation Guide is a discussion starter with questions designed to help each partner organization first clarify its own needs and relationship to the partnership that they serve. The guide enables partnerships to acknowledge what makes their partners different and respond to each partner's needs in a safe and non-judgmental way. To use the guide, each partner organization should respond to the questions with decision makers within their own home organization first. Then the responses to the questions should be shared at the next partnership meeting. We often hear from communities that having this conversation planted seeds of trust within the partnership, and we know that trust is key to a sustainable partnership. Now, next, Mary and I will introduce you to the questions in the guide by discussing 3 common situations in which we as coaches have advised our communities to use the Defining Boundaries Conversation Guide. The first scenario is if you are a new partnership. When you're starting a new partnership, you want to know what is bringing your partner organizations to the table, and equally important, what's going to keep them there. Now, Mary, earlier I was telling you about this partnership that I coached that was only 2 years old. The partnership started in response to a funding opportunity, but when the grant dollars dried up, the tensions began to mount within the partnership. That probably sounds familiar to most of our audience. No one felt comfortable addressing the tensions. However, when they used this guide, they discovered a number of sticking points that, when were acknowledged, were kind of easily negotiated. For example, one partner organization revealed that it could only serve as a fiscal agent going forward if certain conditions were met. And it was good that this stipulation was aired so that their partnership could make other arrangements. And that partner organization no longer felt like they had to dodge requests to serve as a fiscal agent. So in this case, a few of the questions on the conversation guide that were especially helpful to them were, how does your organization view its role as part of this partnership? As the representative of your organization in this partnership, what authority do you have to make decisions on behalf of your organization? And who else from your organization do you need to consult, and under what conditions? Some partnerships have used the Defining Boundaries Conversation Guide as a basis for negotiating memoranda of understanding and setting expectations for the partner organizations as well as their representatives.
And this is Mary here talking about that some of you may have experienced partnerships that have ceased to become productive, those that have dwindled down to just a handful of organizations. Have you ever wondered what caused these organizations to leave the table? If you begin to notice dwindling commitment in your partnership, try using this tool. While there are several reasons why a partnership may lose members or momentum, the Defining Boundaries Conversation Guide can help you pinpoint the problem. One partnership I coached started noticing a significant drop in members attending meetings. They ran into some financial difficulties and could no longer serve lunch, and they were truly left with just a handful of committed partners. So they decided to use this tool after a series of one-on-one meetings and invite their partners to come back to the table. Having this conversation really helped the team refocus and re-energize, and in the end the partnership did not lose additional members. In fact, the group really swelled as all these different areas were clear, and also from there developed an action plan so that many people really knew their role. So some of the questions related to stagnant partnerships that you might want to think about are, what are the values your organization holds dear in relationship to the work of this partnership? Are there non-negotiables? Or non-negotiable terms your organization has for engaging in this collaborative effort? And really, what resources realistically is your organization able to offer the partnership?
And lastly, Mary and I have recommended this tool for partnerships that are preparing for collective impact. Collective impact is increasingly being used to address complex social problems that are often at the root of health inequities. But to employ this strategy, partnerships must be explicit about roles, expectations, resources, as you can imagine, and those non-negotiables. There are also 5 necessary conditions for collective impact. And one of those conditions is open and continuous communication. So in this case, these questions may be of particular interest to you if you're thinking about collective impact for your partnership. How does your organization want to remain informed of the partnership's work? How will you communicate information between your partnership and between your organization rather and the partnership? And those questions about non-negotiables and resources are also applicable to this situation. And Mary's going to chat out some more information about collective impact if you're interested, including those information about those other conditions related to collective impact that I mentioned. So I hope that you were able to see how the Defining Boundaries Conversation Guide can help you begin to have important, transparent conversations that can help you negotiate for a successful outcome. I also want to mention that the Action Center employs 10 community coaches who can help you in your journey toward building a healthy community. If you'd like assistance using this guide or any of our Action Center tools, please reach out to us on our website using our Get Help button. And Mary's going to chat out some information about coaching. Now, we promised you that we would save time for your questions. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mary to let me know what's populating out there, and we'll see how many we can get answered in our time left together.
Thanks, Erica. Yes, I have several questions, and one of the questions is, do you have tools and examples of effective ways communities have pulled together with diverse views and they've been successful at collaboration? So I really want to point you to some other tools on our website, and it's in the section of recruit diverse stakeholders from multiple sectors, and that's again on the Roadmaps Action Center site, and working together. You'll find that link, and I'll also send it out. And here you'll find tools such as Practitioner's Guide to Advancing Health Equity, Building a Contact List, Coalition Core Competency Checklist, and Coalition Mapping Worksheet. So all of those, I've used all of those tools in different circumstances, and they can just be helpful in terms of pulling people together and looking at the whole list of people that you have involved, who's missing, who else needs to be part of it. And Eric, I have a question for you, and that is, could you please share various models of collaborative arrangements with multiple partners?
Okay, yeah, that's actually a very good question, because there are various ways that partnerships can come together to improve health, and they can range from anywhere from just simple networking, where people are exchanging ideas and exchanging information, all the way to collective impact, which is a much more focused, intense form of collaboration, and in which you're really working on a complex social problem. But there's a lot of things in between in the mix, and I think what's really important is that partnerships look to focus on the needs of their community. Okay, so in some cases you may be working on a health issue in which networking, the simple exchange of ideas and information, is really not helpful. You need to go a little bit more deeply than that. And so you may need to talk about how you can coordinate activities better, or how you can start sharing financial resources or human resources. So I think the most important thing, and Mary, you can chime in at any second, is for communities to look at where the need is, and to begin to build collaboration about that, in response to that need. And I also would encourage you to use that Get Help button and reach out to us for coaching, because coaches love to come alongside communities to actually help them in this effort.
Thanks, Erica. Another question, and before actually, I want to go back to the question about effective ways communities have pulled together people with diverse views, because I wanted to make two suggestions. And one, on our website, you'll find the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Culture of Health Prize. And looking at videos, very short videos of communities who have won the prize, I find can be really inspiring, because one of the keys to people winning, or communities winning the prize, is their capacity to really pull people together. So that's a source that is a great reference for how communities have pulled people together. And also there's an organization in Memphis called the Common Table Health Alliance, and they're a wonderful example of pulling people together. And I'll chat those out in a minute when I'm not talking.
You're right. Mary, thanks for sharing. Oh, go ahead, Mary.
And I have, I have one other question. Would you like me to go ahead with that?
You know what, we're actually kind of running over time, so what I want to do is offer to answer that question offline, and want to go ahead and wrap this up just to keep people on time here. So check out our upcoming and archived webinars on our website, and you can get the information here at our countyhealthrankings.org website. And hope you've had some time to revisit these questions, or think about these questions. So let's revisit them before we close. And again, they are: who else do you need to share this information with? And what is one idea for action you're taking from this webinar? We would like to acknowledge that this program is the result of the contributions of many partners, including those that I have listed here. And I do want to thank you for your really good questions that came out of this webinar today. We will do our best to go ahead and get those answered for you offline. I want to thank you for taking 20 minutes out of your day to join us today, and we look forward to your feedback and seeing you on future webinars. So this ends the webinar, and thank you for your time today. Thanks, Mary. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Everyone have a good day and good luck with your work making your community healthier.